Hello, Daniel. I was just writing out an email, but I thought I'd just do another quick video, really. I think it'll be a much better way of showing you what else we do. When we spoke on the phone, I just said I'd follow up with an email. I don't know if you remember, just to recap on what we spoke about. But also, I think you were quite keen to just really better understand the other um, the other activities that we do and how we use blogs, how we use articles, and how we really just do the whole process. So I'm just going to give you a 5-minute run through on what that is basically. So this is a project board of a client that we have in a software called Trello. We're actually moving our system over to a different software right now, actually, but this will suffice. So as you can see here, there's a fair number of cards here. Each of these can have anything from 1 to 25, I think, different checkpoints in each one. So as you can see, there's numerous tasks to be done. Some of them very menial, some that are very step by step. Others that require a fair bit of, sort of cognitive work and semantic understanding of what SEO is and what we're trying to achieve. So there's a clear method to it. It has to be somewhat adapted as we go through because we react to results as we get them, and then we go from there. So this is just to give you an idea. This is a project board. Now, out of that project board, you will then there will be a lot of things that will be produced. So I'll give you an example of some of the properties that we set up. So as standard, we would be setting up all of your social profiles, for example. So we would set up all your Twitter profiles and your Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, whatever we felt that was necessary, really, or that we deemed appropriate for your type of business. So that's one thing we would set up. They act as what we call just a core social, and we call them a core social because they are what I call our first tier links. So they're highly trusted sites that we then use to surround your site effectively. Now, alongside that, we'll set up other more sort of niche relevant posts. So to give you an idea, this is this one for Soho editors, for example. This is on their LinkedIn profile. So this is an article that we put together for the managing director. And as you can see, this is on a course that he does, Advanced Premiere Pro course. These are all their graphics here. And you'd have seen this in the videos. This was another example of links that we did. And you can see these are links that go to their website. So these are the sort of, now this is a client facing one. So this is, properly, well, I say properly, I mean this copy is meant to be converting. So it's a copy that could be used on a website. It's directly related to the customer because we have their logos on here. But as I said, in other instances, we're not doing that. We're really just putting links up. And I mean, this isn't an article, just give an example. I mean, these are links here. This is from a directory called Brown Book. And not all directories are equal. Some directories are terrible to link from. This is a good directory. And you can see here, we've just got some branded links in here. It goes through to these bits of anchor text here, which is post-production, video training. And this is all, as far as Google is concerned, is all very above board. We're just putting in a listing of the company and stating things that they do. This is from Behance. Now this is really just, it's more graphics related, but it'd be something that would be in Brian's niche. As you can see here, we've just got some web references out to the website for different areas that they do. So we're just utilizing these links here. But again, this website's run by Adobe. It's very trusted, as you can see here in the top right. Now, what else? This is an article site called Medium. So this is sort of a semi-blog site where we set up our own blogs. As you'll see here, this is actually done as somewhat anonymous. So it's by an Andrew Taylor. But this is really just to get these links in and to get them pointed towards the site. So that gives you a rough idea of how we do that. There's a lot more. Before that, we do a lot of competitor research. We write out numerous types for your business description. We look at your on-page structure here. We look at the addresses in make sure your address is consistent throughout the site. We check for your SSL, which means that we get your certificate with HTTPS, as you can see at the top here. We make sure your website is mobile Google friendly. And then we advise as to what you might need to do to improve that. We run your page speeds. We look at your WordPress security. We also look at your on-page meta tags, which is a plugin which goes in here. And we make sure you're registered with Search Console, which is the Google Webmaster Tools. Alongside that, I mean, I may as well run through these things. We geotag your images, so we make sure that Google can read there's a longitude and latitude in all your images, and we label them all up correctly, and we bench that against what you're trying to rank for, so we make sure there's a good amount of synonym and diversity within that keyword group, those keyword groups. We add schema to your site, which is effectively a code whereby we make it very clear to Google what things are on a page. So I can show you something there quickly. One moment. So as you can see here, we effectively go into the code on the website. This is something that not a lot of SEOers do. We know it works, so we do it. And really what this is Google's always trying to determine what is on the page also, all the different labels. And it does a pretty good job of it, but sometimes sites aren't built very well, and there's another way then to make sure that it does. So we effectively put code in just to, you can see these tags here, they're literally telling Google what these things are. So it says the type, this is an event, because it has a date to it, it's a course. We're making sure that Google knows it's a London training center. We're making sure that they know what the address is. We're making sure they know what the price of the course is. And the reason for this is that it can actually then increase the your results in the search engine. So I'll give you an example of this, and this is the reason that we've actually just done it for Brian. And I'm showing you, and I'm showing you Brian's really because he's somewhat of a similar contract to yours in that for a lot of clients that local clients and so on that we're doing sort of £300 or £400 contracts, they don't really require this level of SEO because they're really just looking to rank for local things, and we can achieve that without a lot of these methods. But when we're looking at national contracts, then we need to really employ as many things as we can. I just wanted to show you this. You can see here in the search engine where there's extra information being displayed and the others don't. So Brian's doesn't at the moment. We've just implemented this. What that means is that people can go straight through to the product within the search page, and we just start adding more things. It just takes up more real estate. And Soho editors now have over 300 of these listings on page one. So over 300 times this extra bit of search engine page real estate is valuable. Okay, so what else was I going to show you? I was going to show you, that's right, we're going to look at some AdWords. Actually, I was going to look at just a little bit of, what should we look at here? Yeah, so this is just some analysis, competitor analysis that we do and how we go about it. So obviously we were looking at the stuff in Ahrefs and AdWigs and so on. But we go a lot deeper than that, and we actually go into each keyword competition. Now, this is what we call an optimization cloud. So this is a client of ours called Art to Arts. They're an online art gallery, national company again, or when I say national company, they're trying to rank nationally. And how we create these word clouds out of their existing rankings, we put together really to give an idea of this is what Google thinks of them at the moment. And the bigger the word is, the more it thinks it about them. So, and this is where we start, and then we look at a target word cloud of what we want to be like in a simpler form, and then we look at what's called anchor text clouds and so on. It gets a little bit complicated, but effectively we're just trying to match this with this, and we're not too far off anyway, but there's a few more things that we want to pick up, and we want to get artwork looking a bit bigger. And this is probably the simplest way to explain to someone what we're doing. We're really getting Google to think. We've got an idea of what we want Google to think of us about semantically. We compare it to what it already thinks about us, and then we effectively put labels and links in until it does that. And we do that in such a way that we have to do that over time and through various different links. This is part of some competitor analysis here. So there's 4 competitors here. We look at their metric breakdowns. We look at more metrics than this, but this is just a summary. We look at all their what Google thinks, what topics they're in. So this is Arts to Arts. Their biggest topic is arts. And you can see most of them are, and actually these are their competitors. And we look at all the different topics that Google has for them, and these are called topical trust flows. We run through those. We look at the trust flow breakdown of the links coming in. So this is looking at links and how trusted they are. And then we do what's called a CTR prediction. So effectively, we look at a traffic plan of where you're trying to get to. So these are all the things that Michelle would like to rank for. We then look at the current positions that she's in, and then we look at the likely positions we can get to, and then we look at a traffic increase and what potentially that would bring in business. This is just a further going into, this is all branded anchor text comparisons, which is a bit too heavy to go into at this stage. These are these are looking at each keyword competition. So this, for example, is art for sale. This is the competition. These are all the competitors here. These are all their metrics, and we effectively create a model to go on. And in this instance, we're modeling off this company called Rise Art because for various reasons they're ranking above others because they've got a good link strategy basically. So that's what we're looking for. And we pick apart every single link, basically pick it apart, look at where the relevance is, we look where the power is, and we look if we can get it. We look at if it's a do follow, no follow. So you can see it's quite a meticulous process. And this is getting into what I was explaining about on the previous video around when you saw that software. So yeah, there's quite a lot to it, as you can see, but it's not just links. There's more than that. Coming back to AdWords, because I thought we did speak about it briefly, and I wanted to show you this. This is a client who's just about to come on board. Actually, they're doing bespoke furniture. It's predominantly in London, and they wanted to see about doing PPC, which is AdWords, pay-per-click, and SEO at the same time. So I could sort of give them a comparison of what the advantages and disadvantages are for both. So this may be a good thing to run you through. You know, the rate limiters for SEO is the time to rank. It takes longer to rank for SEO. There is a factor in the domain name, is when people, as we've been through, that you're having Goldea hair. If you have domain name you have your keyword in the domain name, it helps. And then the other rate limiters are the existing competition. They can have a good head start and they can have good existing authority. For AdWords, the rate limiters is the cost per click is set by the market, and what I mean by that, it's an auction. So sometimes you can go into a niche and it's already £5 per click, and in some instances, believe it or not, it could be 20 or 30. I've seen it as high as £80 a click. So it only gets there when it's very competitive, and it only gets very high normally when there's a high return on investment for that particular niche or an average sale. Another rate limiter here is what's called CTR max 15%. So that what that means is that Google AdWords, let's just have a quick look. So let's bring something up. Let's put up, let's say plumbers. Plumber Kent. I always use plumber as an example. That didn't come up. That's not helpful, is it? Only when you want to. Well, maybe this gives you a good example, actually, because it's down the bottom. Often you'll see adverts at the top, but I've put in Plumber Kent here. But they don't always go to the top. They can sometimes down the bottom here. So you can see this one, Plumber. This is an advert from AdWords. But the reality is, especially when you're looking at local services and for national as well, they just get a lower click-through rate. People are more interested sometimes. They understand these are real companies or companies that would be in their area at least. Or they tend to give them subliminally a little bit of credence because they think, well, they got there automatically. And some people don't think like that. It depends on the browser. But they get a lower click-through rate, what I'm saying. So they max out. You're never going to get as many clicks on an advert on page one necessarily than you would as a top position. And the other considerations here are that you've got to have enough gross profit per sale in order to undertake any of these, really. Okay. So I won't go through all the different glossaries because it would take too long, but ultimately, I'll run you through this very quickly. This is a study that we did just to see what the return investment would be on 3 years of doing AdWords campaigns with a management fee, as I said to you on the phone, that we would charge as a minimum £400 a month, which is effectively a man day of work. And it's probably a little bit misleading to think of it as a man day because we use a lot of tools which augment what we do. But ultimately, we know in order to monitor those tools throughout the month to make sure that we're progressing the campaign, that we need to allocate £400, which is about a man day's work. Now, what I will do, I'll just cut to the chase really with this at the end. I mean, yeah, you're an investment banker, so I'm sure you'll get this, and you'll probably laugh at my graphs. But what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that SEO generally has a longer term return, and it's a slower starter. But there's two specific reasons for that. And just to add to that, the reason that a lot of people go for AdWords is because it's quick, because you can appear relatively quickly on the page. But you're always going to have, it's never going to be as good a return, and I'll explain. When you're doing an auction, you effectively manually put in the key phrases that you want to rank for. Google will suggest things to you and so on. There's lots of ways that you can do that. But ultimately, you're going to have a set number of phrases that you're bidding on. and you're going to just bid on those phrases. You're going to try and get your cost per click down to such a rate that, say it was £5 a click, and it took you 100 clicks um, to get a sale, then it's costing you £500 per product. Now, that may not be sustainable, first of all, but then you effectively then start to refine the data, and you get to a point where you drive down that customer cost or customer acquisition cost horizon down to something that's manageable. And throughout that, it always requires management, because you're always going to need someone refining that and going through the data. So, and that also drives up the cost of sale through this, because there's always that management fee throughout. Now, in this instance, I actually stopped the management fee just to show a fair comparison, but it just wouldn't be advisable really with AdWords. It's something you want to continue with. Now, with SEO, you can have a management fee throughout, but to a degree that there's going to be less need for that. It may be need this in this instance. I've done it over 18 months, the management fee, and in some instances it does go on for longer than that, especially if there's more optimization to do. But the key difference here is, with SEO, we don't have to manually put words in. We start ranking for a phrase. So we have like what we call a trophy key phrase. So a trophy key phrase here would be fitted wardrobes London. If we rank for that, and why we call it trophies, if we win that game, then we're going to rank for all other synonyms around fitted wardrobes London, because that's what Google does. It's just a relevance-based search engine. It will naturally start ranking you for those. So we will build up in comparison to management here, you'd probably have 100 key phrases. We could be ranking for 500 or 1,000 by the time in the same time period, without having to do that ourselves. We just keep focusing on a particular trophy word, which we know is going to bring in all the others by default. So it's just a run through of just a quick bit of how you sort of we work with people, but I won't quite go through that at the moment. Okay, I think that's probably about it. I'm just looking at my list. I did take some notes. No, I think that was about it. Okay, Daniel. I hope that's been helpful. I just thought it would sort of wrap up our conversation a bit more, because I know there were some blurry spots in your head around what it is, and I'm sure there'll be more questions, but at least you get a better idea of what we would be undertaking, and really, if you wanted to include AdWords, and by that I sound negative about that AdWords, it's not at all. It's just that there is differences between them, and you should have different expectations around them. Really, a good model is to run them a hybrid in the first instance. It really just depends. I think a lot of the time it could depend on the needs of the business. Have clients that started a business and they've got spent a lot of their capital on getting the business going, and they just need to get some business in, and they think, well, we get some AdWords going because that will bring us something in, which is a logical step. But if the capital isn't a major pressing concern, then it's not it's not necessary to go straight into AdWords. I think doing SEO is a more sustainable, and I would say it's a better investment over time, because as you saw, just the term implies, if you're investing in organic natural rankings, then you're actually building actual authority with Google. Whereas if you're just doing AdWords, you're not building authority. You're just bidding on an auction. So I thought I'd just run you through this finally, just very quickly. This is just, I guess, an outline of what we do, just in a more sort of marketing sense. Really, we use these just to give people a guideline of what a strategy is in SEO. Step one would be deep keyword research, research tools, and as I spoke about this effect with the AdWords compared to SEO, it's a snowball effect. So we look at creating and building momentum and finding the right key phrase. It's similar to, as we spoke about with the lace-fronted wig or luxury wigs. We probably find longer terms than that, and then we work our way towards the big terms. As you saw around the arts company, we do in-depth competitor research. We then do website housekeeping. So this is making sure all of your URLs, page titles, image labeling, your keywords are there. As we said, it's not a great deal with keywords now, but they're still labeling. They're still labeling up your images. And as we said, you just need the keyword once on the page, but there's more to it than that in terms of images and so on. We use every opportunity to label them up. We then look at if this is relevant, and it probably isn't going to be that relevant for you local SEO or Google My Business listings, but we would still set these up, and they're for other reasons. It's for around trust, and we would set you up with directories and so on. That's not necessarily so we're going to rank you locally. That's to build trust to your website. As I said, we build out your social profiles, and we don't. This isn't social media marketing, as some people think. We use them to build out for links. We also build them to rank, believe it or not. So these ones you saw earlier here, these are actually, a couple of these are actually ranking on page one of some of Brian's listings, and that they help him to get extra clicks, basically. We also look at video. Some of our clients want video, and we do that as part of an SEO strategy. We would need you to produce the videos, but we can help you do that. We have some good video makers which can assist you with that. And we use video to rank, because I think I showed you before, we're ranking a number of YouTube videos now on page one. And then really we get into your building your link network, as you can see, as we've spoken about a little bit at length now, around getting good quality links and building relevance towards the site and power. So yeah, that's a very quick run through of how an SEO contract would go. Okay, well, I hope that's made everything a little bit more, a bit clearer as to what we would do, as opposed to just looking at graphs and links. We have to do the other stuff as well in order to get to that stage. I was really just, as on that previous video, just showing you as an SEO how I assess something, and I guess maybe an analogy to what you do is just really looking at the numbers, and really just drilling down on that and not really taking into account some of the more preliminary things that do play a factor. But they always do, and they always bring a context to it, and they ultimately do direct what direction we go. But still, in terms of assessing a risk and an opportunity, then I can glean a lot from the links and how long people have been about and how long they've been doing them. Okay, that's about it, and I hope to speak to you soon. Have a good week. Okay, bye-bye.